Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Samya Ramesh from Rotunda, and I'm here to speak with you regarding the humane aspects of gestational surrogacy. What you're seeing behind is the slide of Rotunda Center of Human Evolution. We are a fertility clinic who have been more than a decade old, located in cosmopolitan Mumbai. We were among the pioneers in the field of gestational surrogacy, being the first to introduce the cryoshipper services, surrogacy for same-sex individual couples. This is a state-of-the-art laboratory, and Gaurav, who was supposed to be here and couldn't be here, unfortunately. And the team Rotunda, to which I belong, I've been belonging to this team for the past 3 years. When I was given the topic of the human aspects of surrogacy, I realized that almost every aspect of surrogacy or every step of surrogacy has a human facet to it. There are dilemmas faced by the intended parents and by the surrogate. For the parent, traditionally a baby being born involved a father and a mother. Adding this one person additional was required in certain situations like absence of a womb, same-sex couple, multiple IVF failures, so on and so forth. Even by the time they have to take a decision, there are certain issues that they face. Predominant among them would be the ethical issue. Is it acceptable for me to ask another woman to carry a pregnancy for me? That's one question, particularly since India is a poor country and the women who are going to be their surrogates are poverty-stricken. The question that they might have in their mind is there likely to be exploitation? Is she being forced or coerced into this because of financial situation, her residence as a husband, or some other family member forcing her to do surrogacy? The second thing is that of trust. Can I trust a country so many miles away, I've never been to this place, trust them with my IVF, trust their medical facility to take care of the surrogacy, trust the medical facility to take care of my baby in the initial, crucial, critical first few days of its life? Can I trust the surrogate to take care of herself during this period of time? Can I trust the banking facilities in their country to take care of my money and get it to the right places at the right time? The other thing is during the pregnancy. They're never going to be real-time at pregnancy. The pregnancy is being carried by some other woman. They're depending on the clinic to get across to them a bi-monthly update regarding the ultrasounds, update regarding the health of the surrogate, the growth of the baby, so on and so forth. There would be the monetary issues. It is a financial drain no matter which country they choose. They need not be successful in the very first attempt. So it will be a dream that they have already thought of going ahead with, and they are faced with failures, so they keep coming back, and each time there's a financial drain. The other fear is that of handover. Are they sure that the surrogate will not get emotionally bound to the child, refuse to hand over the baby to them? Will there be a lot of red tape at the hospital to hand over the baby? Will there be trouble with acquiring a passport for this baby? The surrogate herself has issues. What about my family? Two issues. One is, will my family accept this? Will they be okay with my doing surrogacy? The second is, what happens to my children and even my husband in my absence? I may need to get admitted. I may be in the surrogate house. With all this is about who will take care of my family and how will they manage? What are the difficulties in this pregnancy? Is this pregnancy likely to be similar to my own pregnancy, or are they going to be different issues? Will I get medical care at home? Will it be in time? Will it be adequate? What about the emotional bonding? Do I believe I will be too bound with this baby and will not be able to hand over this baby to the intended parents when the time has come? Will I be respected for this decision, or will I be stigmatized? And finally, will I get all the money that I was promised at the outset? Because it's probably one of the important reasons I'm doing this surrogacy. Immediate post-delivery, I'm likely to have problems. Will I be taken care of? Or as soon as the baby is delivered, will I be ignored? And the last is, how long will I have to be contacted, and how long do I need to go back to the clinic, back and forth, in whichever places I may be asked to go to for the legal work and the paperwork? Practically, how do we do this? How do we mitigate these problems? The three most important things would be reassurance, counseling, and leaving lines of communication open at all times. Counseling. We take into our program only surrogate women who are mature, have had their babies, and since the program allows us to take surrogates only through agencies, It is not possible. Most of these surrogate women, through their agents, have met other women who have done surrogacy in their past. By the time they have come to us, they've already been counseled by their peer groups, people that have undergone surrogacy earlier, so they have a very clear idea as to why they have come to us. The intended parents are allowed to make the surrogate, in fact encouraged to make the surrogates, so they can see that they are right-thinking women. Women who have made a choice, who have opted for surrogacy because they want to do something more better for their family. They have aspired to have a lifestyle which is better than what they can aspire to at this point because of the money that they will receive by doing surrogacy. That this is a situation of have and have, and not a have and have not, where the surrogate mother has the ability to carry the pregnancy, while the intended parents have the money to compensate her for this. So between the two, they could come across to a mutually beneficial arrangement wherein both of them can benefit. The other thing that we have believed is that by giving a very clear update every 15 days, every 10 days, and sending across scan reports and everything in time with the pictures and photographs, CDs, we can try to make this process as simple and easy and transparent for the intended parent who is sitting miles away, not being real time with the surrogate. Theoretically, it is possible that a person thinks that yes, the surrogate might be emotionally bonded with the baby and will not hand over the baby. However, in practice, we have never come across this. In India, I could say with extreme confidence that all the women are very practical. They do this for the money. They already have a family of their own, and they're doing this for the betterment of their own children. They have their babies. They want to move on with their lives as soon as this thing is done. Which still does not mean that they do not want to meet the intended parent or does not want to see the baby. I have with me a few videos which I will be playing for you, where you can hear it from the frontliners themselves, who will tell you that they were very happy to meet the intended parents. They were very happy to know they are respected and looked up to by the intended parents. They were very happy to see the joy of the intended parents. They were happy to rejoice in that joy, but they wanted to move on. They did not want to be bound to this baby. They're very happy to hand over. There's a very beautiful word that a surrogate uses called Humane, which in order to loosely translated means safekeeping or trust, which I will show you in a future video. What we would like to also do with the intended parents is to give them a list of global ambassadors. Now these are people who have come to us seeking surrogacy, have had their babies with us, have gone back to their respective countries. Their email addresses and contacts are available over our website. So the intended parents can actually write to them, depending upon whichever country they want to write to, and get back a feedback from them and know for sure what they are getting into. So this allows a certain degree of transparency in the system, allows a certain degree of confidence in the system that yes, we can also come back with our baby, and they have a rough idea as to what are the things that are being needed when they come to India to either pick up the baby or do the egg collection and IVF. The outcome can be really happy babies. Some of the success rates that we've had with donor rates as high as 60%. And we've also had surrogacy with self-eggs with age less than 36, success rate of almost 53%, and more than 36, a success rate of 49%. There are some videos that I would like to share with you, but since
बांद्रा में आए उसके बाद में सब यहाँ पर डॉक्टर से मिलाकर बातचीत
owing to paucity of time, you may not be able to read all the subtitles easily. I have allowed the surrogates to speak for themselves in their own native language, and I have tried to translate them so you could read what they are saying. The first video is of a woman who's already given up a baby almost 2 months ago. She expresses no regret of having handed over the baby. She is very happy to have made this decision, although she made the decision because she knew she was going to get monetary compensation for having made this decision. But when she met the intended parents at the end of the day, she was very, very happy to see the joy on their faces, and she believes that that joy will definitely go for her children. She's very happy to come back and do surrogacy for a second time, and very happy to encourage other women.
आप आप ये काम करेंगे सरोगेट का आम काम है, इससे कुछ परेशानी नहीं होती है, इससे घबराना नहीं चाहिए, ये सब बताया गया मुझे। और उसके बाद मैं खुद राजी हो गई काम करने के लिए। चलो अगर मैं काम करती हूँ तो घर वाले अपने बच्चों का अपना अच्छा होगा। सिस्टर आपके इंजेक्शन टाइम पे देगी, दवाई बराबर टाइम पे देगी, जैसे उनकी अमानत एक मेरे पास है। अगर उनकी अमानत में अच्छे से रखूंगी और फिर उनकी अमानत उनके हाथ में दूंगी और जो उनकी खुशी होगी मुझे खुशी मिलेगी और वही खुशी मेरे बच्चों को मिलेगी। क्लिनिक से पता चला कि जो पार्टी वाले जिनको मैंने बच्चे दिए थे उन लोग मुझसे मिलना चाह रहे, मुझसे धन्यवाद करना चाह रहे। खुद उनसे मिलकर उनकी खुशी करके इतनी खुशी हुई, काम अगर आपको करना है तो मैं तो खुशी खुशी से राजी हो जाऊंगी कि हाँ मुझे करना है, कि आप लोग भी आगे बढ़े और हर किसी की ऐसी मदद करें।
As you can see, she uses the word amanat, which is translated losing and safekeeping and trust. Right at the outset, they start believing that this baby is not theirs, but something very precious and trusted to their safekeeping, are very happy to hand over the baby. The second video is of a woman who is now 5 months pregnant. This is regarding the counseling that we do. We have asked her how she feels during this pregnancy. She's had 2 babies of her own. And she says all the experiences of this pregnancy are almost identical to the kind of experiences she had during her own pregnancy. She feels a lot of joy every time the baby moves, very happy to know that the baby is growing well inside her womb, but at the same time she knows that she is going to hand over this baby to the intended parents. When the agreement had been given to her and she signed, she was explained all of that, and she clearly states that she has absolutely no problem handing over the baby. Another important thing that she makes clear is that she has convinced her family to allow her to do surrogacy, and the family is the one who's taking care of her children. The family, in her case, is not a husband who is separated from her, but her mother-in-law and her own parents, who are more than willing to support her, take care of her children in her absence. We like to keep our surrogates in the surrogate house. And this also allows them to mingle with other women who are also pregnant and in similar situations, gives them a peer group kind of a support system. And they are also, it makes it also easier for us to administer the medication and everything in time. And yet another advantage is that they are all in one place. If there is a medical problem, we have a car, a driver, and everybody ready. And we also have a few cab drivers we know around the area who could immediately go, because it's a one point where they have to go to pick up the surrogate. The next point is a hospital where they have to get them. So these are a few advantages. We have found a surrogate house. And you may now listen to this.
उनका भविष्य मुझे बनाना है। मेरे को एक मेरे एजेंट ने बताया है कि ये सर्रोगेट का किसी को तुम बच्चा दोगी तो तुमको पैसा देगा। ये काम मुझे अच्छा लगा, इसलिए मैं इसमें हाथ डाला है, तो इसमें मेरे को कामयाबी मिली है। अपने बच्चे में रहती प्रेगनेंसी ऐसी होंगी सर, और कोई तकलीफ नहीं। सर्रोगेट के बारे में मैंने मेरे परिवार से बताया तो मेरे परिवार वाले बहुत खुश हुए, बोले बहुत अच्छी बात है, ये काम जो कर रही हो तुम, किसी को औलाद दे उनको औलाद दे रही हो, इसमें क्या हमारी भी जरूरत पूरी होती है, उनकी भी जरूरत पूरी होती है। बस मेरे दिल से ये काम कर रही हूँ। जैसे जैसा अंदर हल्चल करता है हिलता है, तो मुझे आप लोग सब दिन आगे आइए, परिवार का भविष्य भी बनेगा। ये तुम जो बच्चा अभी रखी हो जिसका उसको देना है ये बच्चा, तो इसके ऊपर तुम्हारा कोई अधिकार नहीं। इसलिए वो पेपर पे साइन तो मेरा इधर ही किया, और मैडम ने समझाया तो मुझे समझ में आया, मैंने सब पेपर पे साइन कर दिया।
Hello, my name is Brad.
These are a couple of our clients. We would like you to see them as one feel-good video of a couple who in the same-sex relationship and the children of one of them. The others are the next service around
yeah, our journey is started a year ago at Rotunda, and we're very happy with the result. And thanks to all doctors in the Rotunda. Also, for sure, Messiah Khan, without Messiah Khan, we won't have anything, and then our dreams may not come true. Now we have big family, twin one with
Maybe not bigger future, you know why? That's it, no more.
We are then here and Ivan, and they're doing well, and thanks for your help again. There is no such word I can describe how thankful I am for precious gift.
But you're doing that, I understand. You're doing more.
I am only hand on the come.
This is another couple, Annalise, who's come back for her second child to us. Ariella was born in Rotunda. She came back for, that was the day when she had a neck pickup. The important thing about this video is all the legalities that are involved. Some of the parents, the problem that they face is, or the fear that they have, is once the baby is handed over, will they be able to get back the baby to their country? Will they have sufficient support during the time that they need to go through paperwork so that they are not left stranded in a foreign country?
Annalisa here, and this is Ariella, the 3-month-old today. Ariella was born in Rotunda as a result of IVF with surrogacy. She's biologically our daughter. She's made us the healthiest couple in the world. And I think he started by Dr. Alavania in the 60s or something like that, many years ago. And it had grown to be at the forefront of fertility treatments in India. He just came back, and I just had my egg retrieval today to try for a second baby. The first treatment worked first time. We couldn't have been happier with the clinic, the doctors, the nurses, the staff, from the director of the clinic to the cleaners of the building. It's just been a fantastic experience.
Very happy with exceeded our expectation. We really like India as well.
I wanted to add something to do with the help we got from Rotunda when it came to the legalities associated with a child. Rotunda sent us from day one. Months and months later, we needed things from them. And I learned from lawyers I asked for advice back in the UK that one of the problems is that people worry about being left alone after having a child through surrogacy. Whilst they go through the legal process, at least in the UK, it's a double process of passport application and parental tutor. With Rotunda, I think everything's seamless. I'm with Rotunda. There's no need to worry about how you are looked after the baby is born. Rotunda just been excellent.
These are some of the videos that I would want to see, and I believe that human aspects of surrogacy basically is an overview of the entire process of surrogacy itself, because at no point can you remove the human aspect from the surrogacy at all. I am just leaving the session open for the question and answers if there are any.
Do you have any breast milk available to newborn babies?
No, we do not. We do not even encourage it or recommend it, although there are certain banking facilities available.
Why wouldn't you recommend breast milk?
It isn't as we do not recommend it, because since we are not in control of the whole thing, so if it is going to be done, you could probably approach the hospital and talk to them and get it done through them. We, as a surrogacy clinic, do not have our own breast milk banking at all.
Not even to very premature babies that could be...
Like I said, if it has to be something that has to be done, it can be done through the hospital where the surrogate delivers. Our system is very clear, we do not deliver our babies. We allow the babies to be delivered at a tertiary healthcare system, and at that hospital they do have tie-ups to an availability of such facilities. But that would be up to the intended parents. It is their choice of that it's what they do. Yes?
How much is it seen as being culturally acceptable? Because that's certainly coming across that it is very acceptable to family and hence I presume to culture. And that's, we're probably looking at it from an Australian viewpoint, which is a different culture. So what are the cultural aspects here?
The cultural aspect is that the Indian women are extremely practical. There is no sense of exploitation among these women when they undergo this process. They're very happy to do that, and the acceptability is very, very high. And in any case, the counseling does not end with the surrogate, at least not in our clinic. There's counseling is with her husband and her family as well. So those who have issues with it need not go through the process, do not go to the process. But I do believe that the acceptability of this as a means of getting some money is very high among the at least Indian population. Yes.
I know the couple that you showed there before.
Okay.
And we talk about you guys as a potential dad. I walk outside, I got a few of them out there, like 5 or 6. I get very confused as who should I choose. What do you think makes Rotunda stands out?
Probably because we're the first, we've got the best or the most state-of-the-art IVF clinic that is and a very fantastic laboratory. And we have been here for so long and our system is so streamlined. It is almost like clockwork. I guess that makes it the easiest for you to access our communications.
I would like to welcome all of you on behalf of Vizag Surrogacy Consultants, WSC. Starting with a small anecdote, on my flight to Melbourne, I happened to overhear 2 young women talking about artificial insemination. One of them asked the other, why is it that millions of sperms are required to fertilize just 1 egg? And the other very candidly replied that maybe just like men, only 1 in a million have a sense of direction. So you can well imagine what an ego booster it was. Kickstart that trip. Everyone says let's think positive. We say let's think beta-HCG positive. I say let's think babies. Collective thinking has got a great power. Perhaps that's the reason we set up religious monuments so that all of us can go there and collectively pray. So I would request all of you to keep the cynicism and the skepticism aside for a moment and just think positive and just think collectively about babies. Let me introduce a little about the organization. Vizag Surrogacy Consultants is an arm of Vizag SCOR, which is an international organization into various areas of healthcare. WSC, or Vizag Surrogacy Consultants Australia, was set up with the primary reason to be able to cater to the specific needs, legalities, and aspirations of our Australian friends. The basic topic of my presentation is pioneering surrogacy protocols. We at WSC have developed pioneering surrogacy protocols with the sole objective of optimizing the surrogacy procedure in India to maximize success. These PSPs have been developed not only to optimize the surrogacy procedure per se, but to optimize every important aspect that is related to surrogacy. These aspects include the legalities, the IVF and medical care, antenatal care and delivery, and finally, the exit visa. So we are basically a one-stop shop solution for all surrogate requirements. Now, when we talk about the optimization of the surrogate protocols, there are 4 or 5 important aspects that need to be optimized. The first is the surrogate management, the second is the surrogate coordination, the third is the IVF treatment, the fourth is the variable factors that might arise throughout the procedure, and the fifth is to optimize the monitoring of every step that gets along throughout the process of surrogacy. So I will very shortly run through each one of them. To start with the surrogate management. We at WSC have got SOPs to optimize every aspect of surrogate management, right from the screening of the surrogate to the recruitment, followed by the monitoring, compensation, and the housing. The screening of the surrogate not only includes the medical and the biological screening, but also majorly focuses on the psychological and the social screening. Here there is another point which was also illustrated by the past presenter, the surrogate housing. Now this phenomena is still new and in rarity in India. Only about 10% of the centers or the agencies have got their own surrogate homes. But here I would like to share with you that having a surrogate home where the surrogates can collectively stay can be one major advantage, where all of them can be taken care of, their procedures can be optimized, their medicines can be given on time, their food and hemoglobin can be checked, and the monitoring can be made much more easy. Coming over to the second aspect of optimization, which we've been loosely talking about since morning, that's the surrogate coordination. This is one of the major aspects that is going to determine the success of the procedure. To be able to do that, we have a 3-tier quadrant system. This system comprises of the case managers, the social workers, the surrogate coordinators, and the clinical coordinators. The case managers are in direct touch with you, that is the intended parents. The social workers stay in the surrogate homes along with the surrogates. The surrogate coordinators are an important link between the case managers and the social workers, and the clinic coordinators are an important link between the case manager, the surrogate, and the clinic. This makes the entire procedure extremely communicative and very transparent. With agencies like us, I guess we are never letting you get into a situation like that. We are going to rely on Kangaroo, because we have trouble in finding a surrogate mother, that's what they say. Coming over to the next aspect, once we move on from the surrogate aspect, we come to the IVF aspect. This is going to be extremely important, and here is where I would like to share with you what is the model that we deal with. Till now, you've been primarily exposed to centers who are doing surrogacy and are also involved in the monetary aspects and who are also doing the clinical aspects themselves. Without any opposition to any of that, we wanted to set up an agency where the IP would not be bound to undergo the IVF treatment with one particular clinical center. So what we've done is that we are doing everything in-house, right from the legalities to a legal panel, the surrogate management and coordination. However, for the IVF, we have tie-ups with top-notch IVF centers across the country. This gives a big advantage to the IP to be able to select that which IVF center they would like to go ahead with. The IPs might have various concerns. Some IPs might have a concern of cost. Some IPs might have a concern of the place they would like to undergo the IVF procedure or maybe the delivery. And there could be other various concerns. I would just like to elaborate since this is a very important slide. The IVF centers across India can be basically evaluated on the basis of 3 or 4 criteria. One would obviously be the credibility of the center itself. The second would be the experience and expertise of the doctor who is going to carry out the IVF procedure. And the third very important part is going to be the protocols that are followed by the doctors. In India, there is a variability about the belief in what protocols need to be followed. As we discussed in the morning, most of the centers, if we talk about embryo transfers, are going ahead with 2 to 3 embryo transfers. However, there are some centers which go ahead with 4 to 5 embryo transfers. Recently, some international IVF centers are being set up in India which propagate only a single embryo transfer. So why should this decision be a binding on you that what you would like to go ahead with? You can evaluate between the pros and cons of various protocols that are handled by different IVF centers and select the one that you want. Similar is the case in certain other aspects. For example, cesarean versus normal delivery. There are various centers which would prefer to go in with a cesarean delivery, whether it's a twin or a singleton delivery. However, there are other centers which would want to avoid a cesarean delivery and who would propagate strongly a normal delivery. Then a third important aspect could be the aspect of cost. Delhi is not the same as Mumbai, which is not the same as Gujarat, which is not the same as Hyderabad. Even in Delhi, where we are based, there are centers where there is a variability of the costs. The costs would depend upon various other aspects like the infrastructure, the facilities offered, and other aspects. So you would have the flexibility of finding out that what costs you want to bear and what facilities you like to demand for those costs. So one basic advantage in this model is that you have got multiple options of selecting the IVF centers. The second important aspect is that not only the IVF centers, you have multiple options of selecting from amongst the packages. As I briefly told in the morning, we've got East package, we've got West package, we've got package with Indian egg donors, we've got packages with Caucasian egg donors, we've got packages for frozen embryos, we've got packages for shipping of the embryos to India, and so on and so forth. So we customize, since we are not bound with a single clinic, we can customize the package as per your needs and demands. Here I would like to raise one important part. When I see various packages, I can see that there are packages which are made for success and there are packages which are made for failures. When I say packages made for success, there should be one common factor which states that profit should be made only by the agency or the center if a success can be achieved. Else, the IP should not have to shell out money for the profit of the agency if the success is not being achieved. So one should be sure that before the confirmation of the pregnancy, one should not have to shell out more than maybe 25 to 30% of the cost of the entire package. In addition to the multiple options of IVF centers and packages, we offer multiple attempts in all our packages, and further on they can be further customized depending upon your needs and requirements. Now here there's another aspect that needs to be optimized, which is not really in our control. These are some of the other factors that might determine success, ranging from whether it should be a self cycle or a donor cycle, whether there should be fresh embryos or frozen embryos that should be used, what is the number of embryos that should be transferred, and what is the success rate with respect to the number of attempts and how many attempts you're getting. Obviously, I cannot elaborate on each one of these because we have limited time. In addition to this, it's important to see whether recent advancements, technological advancements and medical advancements are being used or not. I have spoken to various IVF specialists across the world, and most of them clearly state that IVF is not going to see any major revolution in the years to come. But what it is going to see is going to be the optimization and the standardization of the procedures that already exist. So we need to see how we can make use of these advanced technologies, and India is as better as anywhere in the world where all these technologies are available and can be used, right from PGD to AMH, follicular study, oocyte freezing, blastocyst culture, IMSI, and you name it. Coming over to my last aspect of optimization, this is an extremely important aspect. When we have a choice of the IVF center, then we choose the IVF centers with strict guidelines, and the IVF centers have to be extremely transparent with us to be able to tell us about the monitoring of every step of evaluation. Even these steps have been divided into SOPs, and we very transparently share the result and the evaluation of each step so that we can calibrate and maximize our results. So at each step, we would be able to share with you about the ovarian reserve through AMH test, followed by the follicular study, followed by the number of eggs that are matured, followed by the number of embryos that have been formed and matured, followed by the embryo thickness in case of the surrogate, followed by the number of eggs transferred, and followed by the number of eggs frozen, and finally the frozen embryo transfer. So at each stage, you would get very specific information and values so that you can yourself self-monitor the entire procedure. These are some of the highlights of WISACs, which states that we are the only corporate to have organized this sector medically, legally, socially, and ethically. Since we are not a center, we are a corporate. We have SOPs for various aspects as I've discussed. We have multiple treatment options. We have our own surrogate homes, and we can provide you with success rates and in multiple IVF PT attempts, and we offer a one-stop shop solution so that you don't have to go to various places to be able to carry out the procedures. These are some of the acclaims which we've got in the Indian and international media, which is also in each one of your bags. We are an LGBT and single-parent friendly organization. We do not have any bias on the basis of any caste, creed, religion, sex, or marital status. We used to say that behind every successful man there's a woman. We say behind every successful man there's a woman, behind some there's a man, and behind some there are two. I would like to end with two ancient things which are mentioned in our ancient culture, and which everyone who is, all my friends who come from India would agree with. These are two concepts from our ancient culture, as we say. The first one is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, as they say in our native ancient language, which is Sanskrit, which means the entire world is our family. So when you people are coming to us, no matter whether you're coming to Vizag, or you're coming to Rotunda, or you're coming to any other center or any other agency, you should be sure that there's a family waiting for you who will treat you like their own family. I would end by saying another saying from the Sanskrit which says Atithi Devo Bhava, which means that for us Indians, guest is God. Thanks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Maria Kukunashvili from New Life Global Network. It is my great honor to represent our company, New Life Global Network, in front of you today. In this short period of time, I will try to elaborate as much as possible how the theories of transnational surrogacy and donation that we have discussed this morning work in practice. The countries that come to mind when mentioning transnational surrogacy are United States and India, since these two countries have the longest history of fertility tourism. However, there are many other surrogacy-friendly countries worldwide having great position of successful fertility business. Legal issues on surrogacy are complicated and often not perfect. Even those countries which accept surrogacy cannot regulate the complex issues of surrogacy on corresponding level. What concerns ethical side of surrogacy, it still remains the issue for serious discussions. There are countries where surrogacy is considered as the chance to have genetic child, although there are countries where it is described as uterus for rent and considered as an unethical obligation, maintaining discrimination of poor by rich. According to legal background, there are 5 types of countries in the world: type A, B, C, D, and E. In A-type countries, commercial surrogacy is legal and registration of a child born via such surrogacy is simple. In type B countries, only altruistic surrogacy is allowed. In type C countries, where both commercial and altruistic surrogacy is allowed, although hiring a surrogate mother is only priority of citizens and residents of that country. Along with this, only court provides the right of hiring surrogate mother. In the D-type countries, surrogacy is forbidden, and those who apply to such method are responsible before the law. Such is 90% of European countries: France, Italy, Portugal, Germany, Hungary, Australia. Example of type A country is Georgia, United States, Ukraine, and Armenia. Also, it's worth to mention that Armenia is the only country where traditional surrogacy is legal. In type E countries, surrogacy is not permitted, but it's neither banned. So such countries is Poland and Czech Republic. It enables surrogacy and artificial fertilization centers to use surrogacy method. Registration of child is proceeding afterward according to the law of adoption. Poland and Czech Republic belong to this type of countries, along with some others to which no is indicated. New Life Global Network was founded by me in 2008 in the Republic of Georgia, which belongs to type A country group, where commercial surrogacy is legal. My personal struggle with infertility was the main inspiration and motivation to support other people in realizing their dream of parenthood. At the time, I could not even predict how demand for this business would be. After successful and rapid growth in Georgia, high demand to Slavic oocyte donors encouraged me to seek opportunities in other surrogacy-friendly countries. Hence, the Ukraine office was established. As you can see, we expanded in India, Armenia, in Estonia, Israel, and Thailand as well. I would like to briefly describe the model of our services we are offering at our clinic and branch offices. So in the green you can see upcoming referral offices where we are planning new branches in 2013, and in yellow you can see existing offices of New Life Global Network. The practices what we are offer are IVF with ICC, IVF with egg donation, surrogacy with egg donation, and surrogacy with frozen embryos. In addition to all this program, it's worthwhile to mention about our distinguished offer that involves providing egg donors worldwide. New Life Global Network sends egg donors to different clinics in different countries. Our current egg donor database includes donors from Georgia, Armenia, Ukraine, Estonia, India, and Thailand. We carefully screen donors, so you can see in this chart how the donors are chosen. They must be 32 years old, and they must be in normal health. Same applies to surrogate mothers. Here you can also see the screening of egg donors and countries. All the above is done to serve and meet the needs of potential parents from the following countries: UK, other Western European countries, Israel, Asia, Australia, United States, Canada, Georgia, and Eastern European countries. The statistics shown in this slide doesn't necessarily reflect the need for fertility treatment in the mentioned countries, nor does it accurately reflect the potential for egg donation and surrogacy programs in those countries. It is just product our referral and advertisement system, which has grown significantly in past couple of years but need further expansion. Therefore, we are planning to open our offices in countries what I have already mentioned, in Poland and in Kenya in 2013. Before I end my presentation, I would briefly describe the team and organizational structure that makes the above possible. Management of the Center of Surrogacy differs from management of other medical or non-medical institutions and often is related with certain difficulties. The only method which can be practiced in the management of surrogacy and egg donation center is situational management, which mainly identifies the necessity of adjust internal structure and process of organization to external factors. This time, the external factors are called surrogate mothers, egg donors, potential parents, egg donors, and doctors from partner clinics where our donors are going. In the process of the center management, the principles should be followed. The final goal should be reached in such a way that interests of all participants are foreseen and synchronized. All involved parties must be satisfied. It is impossible to ensure the smooth operation of the surrogacy center and egg donation center and creation for the patients, the environment free from stress without having backup plans. So the main principle is that our intended parents must be in advance informed about backup plans and expectations must always be met. Thank you.
So let's start with why I'm even here, why am I here, what I'm going to discuss about. As we saw during the whole day, everybody is going to speak to us how to do, what should you do when you go to India, what are you going to look for the surrogates, what are investigations you do, how are you going to do, everything about what to do. But as we all know, we are discussing about a child who's not born, a child who's going to get a citizenship once he's born, and it's about 2 embassies. That's serious. And that's why I'm here. We are here to speak about what not to do in India. So I'm going to speak some things which is going to raise a lot of ideas here, but I'm sure I'm going to make it interesting. And as you see Garfield there, sure, we all may not be right always, but I'm sure we never want to be wrong in our shoes, right? So I'm speaking for cross-cultural surrogacy, what not to do in India. I indeed going to have a very different perspective to everything across. And these are a few of the steps or the slides that I'm going to go through now. The cultural differences, yes, Australia and India are extremely different. People who have been to India, I'm sure they will never drive in India. So, yeah, infertility. We were just speaking about that. Infertility in most of the developed countries is still considered as just a medical condition. It's not a taboo, unlike India. In India, even couples who don't discuss that with their immediate families. That's true. Let's not deny that. But yes, at the same time, I would agree with all my friends here from India that it's not very difficult to find surrogates because of the win-win situation and because of the multiple reasons everybody has shared here. Process is organized. I have to say that Australians are extremely organized. Like the best we see is when you come for picking up your baby. We give you a list what to get and you're there. Exactly in the order, process, you know what to do and what not. That's great. India will not. For example, in India, if you want to get a blood test done here, you need to call and take an appointment. You need to do everything, and it may be just a CBC, a blood test routine. You might have to wait for weeks and get a report another few weeks later. Not in India. That's what we call it as organized chaos. You come to India and you want to get a blood test done, we'll do it there. The phlebotomist may not explain the whole procedure, I'm going to prick you, it's going to hurt you, it's for this test. No, that's not going to happen. But it will happen. Things happen in its own ways and it's organized in its own chaotic way. Right? Okay, bureaucracy. Yeah, I agree, bureaucracy probably is there everywhere. But I remember of this birth certificate, I had an Australian who came to me and said, it's taking 1 week. I said, yeah, I get it in 1 day in Australia. I said, that's lovely. If it was me, I would take 3 months for me to get a birth certificate for my child. I was like, yeah, in India things may not move at, some things may not move in its own pace, but the other things may move in a faster pace. That's something about bureaucracy which I may not discuss in length. I'm sure people who have picked up babies know what I'm speaking about. Right? So it's just about accepting the differences, believing that when you're going to India, we are ready to accept the cultures, the roads, the dust, you know, the people. They're warm, indeed they're warm. The stares that everybody is going to give you. But it's just about acceptance. It's accepting the cultures. Okay, the first question, I think this is already covered. Do I even need to consider surrogacy in India? Is surrogacy legal in India? I think this newspaper article speaks for it. I don't need to keep harping, or any of my colleagues need to keep saying, is it legal in India? It is legal. Supreme Court has said it. Okay? The act is not there. There's a difference between having a legal industry and having an act. Not everything in every country have to be enacted. Okay? That's what the difference about. So I'm sure that slide is, I love that slide. All the surrogates or all the parents would love to have that saying that we get the laws of the surrogacy process. That's the easiest way. Anyways, everybody has spoken about ICMR, it's the governing body, how we rule everything and stuff like that. I'm going to go into some intricate points about ICMR, and for the next slide, it's going to be very interesting for all of you. It's just a matter of time. Couples keep asking me, when is it going to become an act? Honestly, it could happen just tomorrow. Honestly. The parliament is right now in a mess, there are a lot of opposition and it's the same thing everywhere. And it could just happen overnight. I don't know if many of you know, in 2004, gay relationships was decriminalized. And it just happened overnight. Nobody knew what was going to happen, what not, nothing, and just newspaper article coming out saying, gay relations are decriminalized. That means you can openly tell everybody that I'm gay. Yes, it's not an act now. You don't get any parental rights in India for being a gay. That's the only difference. It's a 1.2 billion industry from one of the studies, and it's going to go up to $2.5 billion industry. And I doubt the government would deny such a big industry to come in if we are talking about finances. Yes, we could probably call it an unregulated segment in India when we speak about surrogacy, then calling it illegal or something else. So what's the first step? Valid medical reason. We spoke about some surrogacy programs in USA, and we did speak that in USA you could go and do an egg donor, a sperm donor, and a surrogate mother. You can't do that in India. You need to have a genetic link. That's what the ARD bill says. That's one. Second, cosmetics. A lot of couples, at least we get a lot of queries maybe one every month, saying my wife is a model and I don't want her to get pregnant, so will you help us? No, it's not about us. The ART bill states that there has to be a medical reason. I think sometime earlier, one of our colleagues has given a list of all the reasons why surrogacy, or what are the medical reasons you could do surrogacy in India for. Gender selection, again. I would like to have a boy, I would like to have a girl. No, that's not possible in India. It's completely banned. You cannot do that option. You cannot ask for that option. High age. This probably is not a criteria ART bill, but we as Surrogacy India have put it in. We get a lot of queries from even 60 plus and 70 plus queries. Every 2 or 3 months I have one of those queries. And me and my partner have decided that probably we are nobody to decide who's going to be a parent. But yes, we would like to decide the surrogates that we have, whom do they go for. So, because we personally feel that the child who's going to be born is going to be born consciously with the intentions of all our minds. And that child needs to have parents when he's at least 20. That's our belief, and I'm not commenting much about that. Okay, next questions. A lot of citizenship checks. A lot of couples from Australia come to India and suddenly they realize that, oh, something's missing in the citizenship checks. Okay, I'm going to make it interactive. I think I'm sounding boring very here. Is there anybody named John here? It's not about you, sure. Okay, John is a UK citizen. He lives in Australia. His wife is Australian. They both do an egg donor service cycle in India. Would anybody tell if they have a child will the child be Australian? Anyone here?
No.
Under the Australian law, the child would be an Australian, but in reality, dealing with the Department of Immigration and Citizenship wouldn't be.
Perfect, that's right. This was the easiest part. I have a lot of interesting questions. Yes, no, the child will not be Australian because you have to show the genetic link to the child. So that's the main point. So where does the child go? It's obviously the other way. In India, again, unlike USA, India does not give the citizenship to the child. So indeed, it's by transmission. The parents have to transmit the citizenship to the child. Who can provide surrogacy services? Right? That's the next slide. And we always speak about, when we think about surrogacy, we speak about IVF, we speak about medical things. Hitting the wrong button. Okay, we speak about the medical stuff always, the IVF, the screening of the surrogates, maybe the donors, how's the antenatal care going to go off, where's the delivery, who's going to be the obstetrician, how is the NICU care in India and stuff like that. They are important, they are the medical part of it. But what's neglected and important aspects are the third parties. Please remember that surrogacy is a third party assisted reproduction where there are third people involved like a surrogate egg donor. There are contracts, agreements with different people. There's a lot of financial transactions that are happening between different people. The birth certificate, it's happening with a government body. It's not like a contract between just you and us. It's about a contract or a registration with the government embassy and the embassies. As I just mentioned in the start, you're dealing with the embassy and any lie or wrong information could really be legally punishable way. So surrogacy is not just IVF. As you can see here, IVF just plays one part of the complete gamut. And surrogacy is much more than that. IVF plays for this first month, you would say, and the rest 8 months, and before the surrogacy, there are a lot of other aspects which are just discussed. So what does the ICMR guideline, or what does the ART bill speak for? From 2002, when the first draft was made, till now, the latest draft, most of the sections, more than 96% of the sections have never changed. I have read this ART bill more than 25 times, from page 1 to page last page. If you read this clause, I have to put up this clause so that I don't have to make a comment about myself. It's the ART bill. It clearly says surrogates and donors cannot be recruited by anybody else but an ART bank. And an ART bank is an independent body other than an ART clinic. What's an ART clinic? It's an IVF clinic. It's primarily intended to prevent IVF clinics pushing the couples to go for egg donor cycles, surrogacy cycles and stuff like that. That was the whole aim. And they said have a different party. And that's what is ART bank all about. Right? Surrogacy India is me and Dr. Yashoda. We are the first such surrogacy agency in India. And I'm not sure, maybe we were still the one. And we were formed in 2007, yes. And we are not IVF clinic. We are not IVF clinic, yes. My partner is a fertility physician. We are attached to one of the best labs, and we can discuss this later. But we are an ART bank, as per the ART bill. ART bank was independent agencies. You always will get a lot of requests, and you can go to different parties and lawyers, independent medical tourism companies, third parties. Yes, you can. But are they ART banks? No, they are not. What do we do separately, differently from them? I'll just come to the other slide of it and I'll be able to tell you. ART Bank, as ART Bank, we are responsible for the surrogates and egg donors. So we actually sign contracts with you, taking the responsibility. So it's up to you how you make a decision. It's good in a way to have a one-point contact and then move around from that point. But where does the responsibility lie then? Is the big question. And where does your money go there? Surrogacy Australia, hats off to Sam. I think it's a beautiful initiative to help all you couples, because I think this is what is required in the present world. More than anything else, we need to educate people about what the laws are, how to do the surrogacy part. Let's learn something about surrogate mothers, and I'm not going to speak about what's been spoken. According to the bill, you have the right to select your own surrogate mother. People who have done surrogacy, it's a question if you got a chance to select your own mother. At Surrogacy India, there are couples who say, you choose, and we say, no, we don't choose for you. We give you all the profiles, You pick up a surrogate that you think is apt for you. You get all the profiles, all the medical tests, scanned and emailed. You could actually take printouts and go to your gynecologist and say that these are the medical tests of my surrogate, this is the photo of her, this is the height, these are the details, what do you think about her? And then you come back to us, saying that I would like to have the surrogate. We are that transparent, and you get the medical records. Let me repeat that. Every single test that's been performed on a surrogate mother. In Indian customs, unlike the Western, a wife or a family plays a very important role. So just a surrogate cannot give consent for surrogacy. It's again given in the bill. The husband plays a role in the consent. He has to be a party for the agreement. So whenever you sign an agreement with your surrogates, be sure you have that husband sign the contracts. Psychological counselings, you should ask for a report. We have had many surrogates who, my psychologist told us that, she does not have that family support. So do you want to take her? And we have got those surrogates. Because psychologists will pick up those important points. I have another case study. John, it's not again about you. He selects two surrogate mothers, 24 years and 26 years. Both are married and both have beautiful children. Right? Are they a good choice for John? Not this John. Anybody here? We just spoke about John? Yeah, it's the same John.
No.
Anybody here? Mariam says no. Why?
Because UK Embassy recommends to select single surrogate mother.
Perfect, she's there, she's. I don't know if many of you know, different countries have different laws and different sections. First of all, most important, as per the Indian ART bill, you cannot have more than one surrogate. Full stop. You don't speak further than that. And I've given the bill, the chapter number, the clause, everything. It's not something that I'm saying, it's the bill that we're following about. And as she said, UK. Choose a single mother if you're from UK. It's going to be at least 3 to 4 weeks faster for you. The UK process is very lengthy. It takes 12 weeks for a couple to take a child back. And if the surrogate is married, add at least 3 to 4 weeks more to that. That's how it goes about. So you need to learn about what the legal status of the surrogate is and how you're going to do about it. Another, John wants his wife to donate the egg. She's 41. He knows it's not going to work. So John tries to use his wife's eggs. And then his wife says, let's use my sister's eggs. She's just 28. She has kids. She's great. They make embryos out of them. They're transferred to both the wife and the surrogate. Anybody here? Or am I going to pick up someone? You, ma'am?
You can't have two cycling at the same
That's fine. You can't. There's one surrogate and one wife, so you can't do that. How about doing a wife and her sister? Okay, that's good. First of all, you can't mix embryos. They're clear. There is a law, you can't transfer more than 3 embryos. You can't have a known donor in India. You cannot meet your own donor. You cannot mix embryos, and you cannot transfer even to self and a surrogate mother at the same time. I'm not sure if this happens, but these are the minutest details that we think you should know before you go ahead. Because I'll come to one last slide, which is very interesting, the life-changing cases. I'm sure none of us want to be in that list. Contracts. We have already spoken about how contracts have to be signed and whatnot. Usually everybody speaks about the intended parent and the surrogate mother. I say, do not sign the agreements in the absence of the surrogate mother. Ensure you meet the surrogate mother, you sign it in front of her, and let the lawyer be present. This concept of having a lawyer was initiated by us. We started having a lawyer in the office. He would personally explain everything to our surrogate in the language she understands, and the party. I've been in the agency. When I said we are an ART bank, the ART bank is officially supposed to sign an agreement with you as parents, and we are taking the responsibility for the complete program, including the surrogate mother, the care, the 9-month delivery, everything, including we have even put up clauses for the IVF, the birth certificate, the finances. It's a 31-page contract just between an intended parent and us. Now that shows, it is a law again. Now we have redrafted and created it, but that tells you about how much in depth we have gone about it. You have to ask yourself, are there clinics or agencies who are ready to sign for it or not? This is again a requirement. This is something very interesting. We never spoke about this before, but this is the first stage. we sign a contract with the surrogate mothers in 2 languages, in English and a language that she understands. We close this triangle. You sign with surrogate, we sign with surrogate, and you sign with us. I would be happy to say here, just the day before we left, we were visited by the Austrian Embassy Council, just the day before. And they were actually inquiring with us, how do you work and what are the processes. We actually showed them all these contracts. They were pleasantly surprised, and they actually have requested us to send a copy of these contracts to them so that they could ensure that they could work on this and make a change. So that's what we are working on. Now this is different. These are consent forms. These are the forms that when you sign a contract, remember it's not a consent form for IVF clinic. That's different. You are anyway supposed to sign contracts or the consent forms when you're doing IVF and stuff like that. That's different. So it's like, don't have a verbal agreement, but let your lawyer check it. Now, I think I've covered these things about sex selection in pregnancy, gender identification. I think most of you know that you cannot even identify the sex of the child during the whole pregnancy in India. I'm sure many of you know. If you don't, India has a very low male to female ratio. And because of this, the laws are very strict, and you cannot know the sex of the child when the child is born. Now, this is very unlike most of the countries. The medical termination laws in India are different, unlike other countries. It's still at 20 weeks. It's under revision, but still at 20 weeks. So if you ever wish to terminate a pregnancy only with a medical reason, can be done till 20 weeks, not beyond that. We say don't neglect or over-pamper. We make it compulsory, you meet your surrogate mother, but don't over-pamper also. I've had couples asking this, should I assure her that I'm going to pay her $2,000 more, $3,000 more? I said, not now. After delivery, you can pamper her. During the whole pregnancy, don't ignore her. Meet her, do the Skypes, regularly do the Skypes, and that will be fine. Payments. You're investing a lot of money for your program. Now, ask for invoices, what I say is. We only ask for payments only through wire transfers. We do not recommend cash payments, even to the agency or anybody. Now, only an AIT bank can raise a bill for the surrogate mother and the care, because IVF clinics or any other centers are not supposed to take care of surrogate mothers. Never make cash payments to surrogate mother. This is again something unique for us. At SI, from the day we started, all the payments to the surrogate mother are paid by cross checks. So it's not just about you being sure whether the money is reaching the surrogate mother or not. It also ensures that the husband is not using those money. All the payments are going in complete cross checks to her own personal account. And that's what is transparency, what we say. We say, you can personally come and check if the money has been received by the surrogate mother or not. We had this beautiful visit from the UK embassy, and she was extremely pleasantly surprised. She actually went through the paper trails of the finances, and she was surprised. I'm closing now. This is something very small. Check for backups. As we are an IVF clinic, we do have our own 2-3 associations with different IVF clinics. So we do recommend one of the particular IVF clinic because we have excellent results with that. But do you have backups for everything? It's very usual that when a surrogate can fall ill, her uterus lining may not develop. It should just be human, it's a body. You know, it could happen. So do you have backups? Because you are coming with full stimulation on. You come to India, and do you want to know that you don't have a surrogate because she's fallen ill, or she has a family issue, or something like that? No, we have backups. We have backup for surrogate, we have backup for IVF plan. The pickup that we do for you is in one of the second best hospital in India, where there's a complete ICU backup. So we never had to use it, but just the NICU backup, the delivery. We have 2 hospitals to deliver. Just in case if that hospital, we believe in backups, that's how the concept goes about. Here, I'm going to be stuck here for some time, life-changing cases. A French gay, these are all newspaper articles, and I'm not going to take the names of the cases. A French gay, France is illegal. France does not even allow the citizens to do surrogacy outside France. I hope everybody knows this. This couple came to India, did surrogacy, took the surrogate mother to the FRRO. There's a known case about low birth weight baby. You should know when you bring your child back to your country. what are the norms, what are the vaccinations that you could do for your country. That father was poorly, he was jailed because the baby was less than 2 kilos. So the doctor thought he was a molester kind of a guy. It went into a big case again. So I end my speech here, and I actually only have to say, let's respect the ART bill before it's too late, or else our friends may pay the price for what our mistakes. Thank you.